Chapter 21 Hao Lan Spell, yes, a blue consuming spell. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Hiss, it feels really bad to take the initiative to cut your own finger. Tang Liu's face twitched, and he felt a chill in his heart as he watched his blood dripping continuously. After the blood had roughly covered the bottom of the calla lily bowl with a thin layer, Tang Liu quickly picked up all the leaves of a small grass within reach at the prompts of the system, quickly crushed them and applied them to the wound. And soon the wound stopped bleeding. By the way, the position where Tang Liu placed the bowl was also told to him by the system. After the bleeding stopped, Tang Liu discarded the scraps of grass leaves, then held the broken bamboo branch with his right hand like a pen, and gently touched the blood in the bowl. Then, he used a bamboo branch to carefully write on the stone on his left hand. Once the blood on the bamboo branches was not enough, he would dip some more into the bowl and continue writing. After he used up all the blood in the bowl, the word on the stone was finished. What he wrote was the word deposit. Of course, the character Cun is in the form of Xiaozhuan. Of course Tang Liu didn't recognize the word Cun in the small seal script. He simply systematically projected the word Cun in the seal script onto the stone, and he traced it stroke by stroke, putting down the bamboo branch. Tang Liu looked a little shocked. Is this the end? Not yet. The system said, now please release the third spirit of the host and use the first spirit skill Hao Lan mark on this stone. Tang Liu followed the system's instructions and left a mark on the stone. Then please sit cross-legged and place the stone about 10 centimeters in front of you so that the bloody words on it face you. Tang Liu followed the instructions again, sat down cross-legged, and placed the stone in the correct position. Now, please ask the host to inject soul power into the stone through Hao Lan mark. Hearing this, Tang Liu was stunned. Can I also use the mark to inject soul power into the marked object? He couldn't help but ask. Yes. The system responded affirmatively. After receiving the response, Tang Liu couldn't help but become excited. If I can inject soul power into the marked object, then conversely, can I also absorb the marked object's soul power with the mark? Or a little more broadly, I can either inject my life force into the marked object, or rob the marked object of my life force. I can either give the marked subject everything I have in the body, or I can rob the marked subject of everything. And there are no limitations of space or distance. The system responded to Tang Liu's idea. Oh my God! The excitement in Tang Liu's heart was self-evident. Just want to be truly invincible. But don't try it easily when I build a host, because this kind of operation consumes soul power. The system warned. I know, the mana-consuming spell, I understand it. Tang Liu said calmly. Since killing the mandala snake, Tang Liu had a deeper understanding of the spirit of Hao Lan's magic. For example, the first soul skill, Hao Lan mark. Although this soul skill does not require the consumption of soul power when marking the opponent, once you want to do something with the mark, it will consume a lot of soul power. For example, it was like Tang Liu used his mark to make the mandala snake stop and explode. That operation drained all the soul power from his body in an instant. At that time, he could clearly feel that if his soul power was not insufficient, more would have been extracted. After all, it was a 5,800-year-old mandala snake. For another example, if Tang Liu used the power of the mark to make Tang San suddenly freeze in the air like a mandala snake, his soul power would be drained almost instantly. If Tang San was replaced by Tang Hao, the speed would be even faster. This is like an ADC whose basic attacks consume mana, and the consumption of each basic attack is the same amount of mana consumed by someone else's ultimate move. Isn't this kind of thing a mana-consuming spell? After thinking about it, Tang Liu finally understood why the two words Hao Lan in the Hao Lan Magic Encyclopedia felt incompatible with the following words in his previous life. Regarding feelings, the word Hao Lan was completely modified later. Tang Liu seriously suspected that the original name of the Hao Lan Magic Encyclopedia was called the Blue Consumption Magic Encyclopedia. Why, I felt a little bit sorry for just changing consumption to Hao, so I even made a new version of Blue, which was fine in the first place. Then why not just click on the Encyclopedia of Spells and revise it too? Is it because I don't have enough funds and can't afford the modification fee? After finally suppressing the burning spirit of complaining again, Tang Liu focused his attention on the stone in front of him again. as he focused his attention, the phenomenon that once appeared on the mandala snake also appeared on this stone. In Tang Liu's eyes, the stone gradually faded, and only the runes of the Hao Lan mark left in its body shone brightly. Looking at the mark, Tang Liu then began to try to transfer his soul power into the stone through the mark. With a thought, Tang Liu felt that the soul power in his body began to decrease. At the same time, in his eyes, the light released by Hao Lan mark became stronger. Only 3 seconds passed, and Tang Liu's soul power was consumed by 10%. Now, please point the host's right hand to the stone in the form of a sword finger, and shout, "Come." The system said, while giving the sword finger pattern. In fact, it means to put the index finger and middle finger together and then extend them. The ring finger and little finger are attached to the palm, and the thumb rests on the ring finger. It's a common gesture in that fairy tale. The corner of Tang Liu's mouth twitched, feeling that it was extremely inconsistent, but he still followed the instructions and shouted Lin. As soon as he finished speaking, the stone quickly lit up with a dazzling bloody light. From Tang Liu's perspective, the blue-black light emitted by the mark was instantly covered up by a sudden burst of blood. In the end, even the mark itself was dyed red, which was very strange. Tang Liu couldn't bear to be surprised, because the stone that had faded and disappeared in his eyes reappeared, and he finally saw clearly the source of the bloody light, which was the word destiny he wrote on the stone. In about 3 breaths, the blood-colored light emitted from the stone gradually faded away, and the word Cun originally written on the surface of the stone began to erode into the interior of the stone, as if it had life, and finally appeared on the stone. The word survival was carved out every time. At the same time, the originally irregular stone turned into a round bead, which was very magical. Is this good? Tang Liu was still a little unbelievable. Chapter 22. It seems that something strange has been mixed in. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Yes, okay. The system said, this is the simplest and lowest level storage magic weapon. It has a storage space of 3 cubic meters. The storage space will collapse after 24 hours, and the items inside the space will be destroyed. The space will collapse and disappear together. In addition, the host is asked not to put living creatures in it, otherwise it will immediately cause space collapse. Listening to the system's explanation, Tang Liu's eyes were full of novelty. You said, this is a magic weapon. It is made with runes. It is indeed a magic weapon. The system replied. In other words, immortals and cultivators all exist. There was a hint of excitement in Tang Liu's eyes. A soul master is essentially a kind of cultivator. The system answered. As for the system, since you can teach me how to make a weapon, can you also teach me how to cultivate true things, such as the divine art of overcoming heaven and creation? Tang Liu felt his heart beat faster. Do you want to learn? The system said, but its tone changed from mechanical to full of playfulness. The excitement in Tang Liu's heart seemed to be extinguished by a basin of cold water. At this moment, all thoughts of learning the exercises disappeared, and there was only one extremely clear thought left in my heart and mind. There is a pit here. And it's definitely a big pit. I can't agree, I absolutely can't agree. What? I am the successor of socialism. I put an end to feudal superstition. Tang Liu said in his heart, full of vigilance. The host only needs to use the stone to gently touch the things that are put into the storage space, and then the items can be put into the storage space. Inject soul power into the stone, and use the mind to extract the things put into the storage space. The system continued to introduce the storage magic weapon, and the voice also returned to a mechanized form. The hint of playfulness just now seemed like, at that moment, another consciousness suddenly occupied the system's consciousness, replaced the system, and said those words, but now, the system continued to introduce the storage magic weapon as if nothing happened, as if the sentence just now did not exist and the scene just now was actually just a dream. Thinking of the Hao Lan magic encyclopedia that allowed him to travel through time, Tang Liu felt as if he had fallen into a big pit long ago. He shook his head and put these thoughts out of his mind temporarily. What are you thinking about so much now? Even if he knew it, could he get out of this pit now? It's better to let nature take its course and see what's in this big pit. Moreover, it seems that there is nothing disadvantageous to him at present. What's more, he is just an orphan. There was a trace of self-mockery on Tang Liu's lips, but what can an orphan get from him? Picked up the storage magic weapon and put everything in it except the rabbit. Holding the rabbit ears and the storage magic weapon, Tang Liu slowly walked towards home, humming a tune. After arriving home, Tang Liu put away all the things he brought outside, and then went to ask Tang Hao to get up for breakfast. "Old man, get up and eat." Tang Liu unceremoniously shook Tang Hao's body lying on his side with his hands, and shouted loudly at the same time. "I know, stop shaking." Tang Hao opened his eyes, his tone solemn but revealing his helplessness. "Hurry up, I won't wait for you." Tang Liu threatened him by gesturing with his fist. It's just that her cute little face and soft milky voice are really not intimidating. Tang Liu walked out first, then sat down at the dining table, picked up the only bowl on the table and started drinking, occasionally picking up pickles with 2 chopsticks. After a while, Tang Hao walked out and looked at the big iron pot opposite Tang Liu on the dining table. "Tang Hao." Tang Liu put down the bowl, looked at him and said, "Why are you hesitating? Everything in the pot belongs to you, just drink it up in one gulp." Tang Hao. After a while, Tang Hao sat down expressionlessly, then picked up the big iron pot and took a sip. The porridge is no longer very hot, and with Tang Hao's cultivation level, he is not afraid of this level of temperature. It was just that the pot was half full of porridge, and Tang Hao was suffocated for more than 10 seconds after taking one bite. Moreover, after drinking, even he felt a little full. After wiping his mouth and looking at Tang Liu who was laughing across from him, Tang Hao said expressionlessly, "How much rice do you have left at home?" Tang Liu stopped smiling first, and then said slowly, "Don't worry, it will be enough for us to eat for another 5 days. Hearing this, Tang Hao couldn't help but frowned. "We have to stay here for at least half a year, but you waste food like this?" Tang Liu smiled, "If you think I'm wasting, then you should go out and work to earn money to support your family." After hearing what he said, Tang Hao was about to get angry, but was interrupted by Tang Liu's next words. "Besides, if we don't eat more now, the rest will be a waste when we leave in 5 days. Tang Liu said. Tang Hao was stunned and didn't understand what he said for a while. When he came to his senses, he asked in a shocked tone, "What level are you at now?" "Level 25 is about to break through to level 26. After taking care of the ingredients for lunch, I'm going to practice for a while. I should be able to break through to level 26. Tang Liu said lightly, but his eyes were full of pride and smile. Yes, after one night of training, Tang Liu's soul power directly broke through nearly 2 levels. Tang Hao was a little disbelieving, and then he ducked behind Tang Liu, put his palm on his shoulder, and then penetrated with his soul power. "Everything is normal. How did your cultivation improve so quickly?" Tang Hao asked with a frown. "I don't know, maybe I'm more talented." Tang Liu said. He really didn't know that the system was posting barrages in his mind, so he was confused about the speed at which his cultivation level was improving. In the end, it was attributed to his comparative talent. People are all somewhat vain. Tang Hao was completely surprised this time. If Tang Liu's cultivation could always maintain this speed, then he would be more than just gifted, he would be defying heaven. Seeing that Tang Hao was still silent, Tang Liu opened the palm he put on his shoulder with a look of disgust. "You touch me with the hand you just wiped your mouth with. You don't cherish the clothes if you didn't wash them." Tang Hao. After a while, he couldn't help but look at Tang Liu with disgust and said, "It's like you wash the clothes at home." Tang Liu was surprised when he heard this. "What's wrong today?" Tang Hao, an old man, can also mock people. However, as a good young man in the new century, how can he admit defeat in such a thing? So Tang Liu answered with a cheerful face, "Let's not laugh at the 50 steps and laugh at the 100 steps. After all, you are the one who gave birth to me. Who do I resemble in terms of virtue? Don't you know after you look in the mirror?" Tang Hao. Chapter 23. Oops. It's the beating of love. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Several black lines were drawn on Tang Hao's forehead. Tang Hao's face turned dark. Tang Hao became angry from shame. "Do you want to die, you little brat? Bastard? So you are an old rabbit? Hey little rabbit, do you know this old guy? Tang Liu looked at the little hair tied to the side, frantically testing on the verge of death. The little hair shivered when she felt the murderous intent released by someone. Don't get involved with me. Tang Hao's anger is at its maximum. Lifting Tang Liu's collar, Tang Hao's figure turned into a stream of light and flew into Tang Liu's room. After sitting on Tang Liu's bed, he placed Tang Liu on his knees, and then slapped him mercilessly with his right hand. Aiming at Tang Liu's little butt, Tang Liu, who finally realized what was about to happen, subconsciously exclaimed, "Fuck, it's a beating from love. Dad, I was wrong." Damn, he forgot that this was his father, not those bad friends from his previous life. The joke is on. Tang Hao sneered, "Do you know you were wrong now?" It's too late. At this moment, Tang Hao's slap fell, and Tang Liu's cry of pain sounded at the same time. After beating Tang Liu into submission, Tang Hao let him practice in his room while he went to drink refreshed. It turns out that beating children is really an addictive thing. I have decided that if Tang Liu disobeys me in the future, I will drag him out and beat him up several times. Hiss, this old guy didn't do it lightly, he's not his own child anymore. Oh no, he beat him so mercilessly, isn't that something only his own father did? Hiss, it hurts so much, how can we practice like this? Tang Liu covered his butt with his hands and complained. Host, have you forgotten your first soul skill, Void Spirit Control? Tang Liu. Damn it. Tang Liu suddenly felt bad. Forget it, if I dare to use it, I will probably get beaten even worse in the future. Tang Liu comforted himself like this, and then lay down on the bed so that his butt wouldn't hurt. System, can I practice meditation while lying down like this? He asked. Okay, the host can just practice. The system said. Okay. In response, Tang Liu closed his eyes, and his mental power began to communicate with his soul power. Really, it hurts so much. I can't even walk anymore. How can I make lunch later? Muttering, Tang Liu entered the cultivation state. At the same time, the system also began to blast barrages in Tang Liu's mind. It's still that paragraph, however, there was some magic power contained in these words, which could actually stimulate the soul power in Tang Liu's body to move at an unimaginable speed without causing any damage to his meridians. Even being washed away by such an extremely fast torrent of soul power, his meridians were gradually becoming tougher. In this way, Tang Liu quietly crossed the threshold of level 25, entered level 26, and quickly moved towards level 27. Early morning 5 days later, as he said, Tang Liu's soul power cultivation had reached level 30. On the bed, he was practicing cross-legged, and his third martial soul was released on its own. 2 blue-black soul rings were circling his body, and the light emitted slightly illuminated the entire room. The door curtain moved slightly, and Tang Hao came in without knowing when. He stood by the bed and looked at Tang Liu with a complicated expression. Sure enough, it was level 30. He was very happy because he saw the hope of revenge in Tang San and Tang Liu. He was also very puzzled in his heart as to why Tang Liu had such a rapid cultivation speed. After a moment of silence, Tang Hao was shocked again. This is. All he saw was that some blue-black light mist was constantly emitting from Tang Liu's body. The 2 blue-black soul rings around him became more solid in the mist, and the aura emitted became more powerful than before. At the same time, the mist surrounded Tang Liu and turned into a halo of light. As the fog continues to increase and become thicker, the halo is gradually becoming more solid. Finally, the 3rd soul ring of Hao Lan Spell was condensed. After 3 circles of soul rings surrounded Tang Liu for 3 weeks, they slowly disappeared and returned to Tang Liu's body. After another breath, Tang Liu opened his eyes. The first thing he saw was Tang Hao standing in front of him. After being stunned for a moment, he said, "Why are you in my room?" But Tang Hao ignored him and said with a complicated expression, "What level is your soul power now?" Tang Liu was a little confused, and after looking at the system page, he said, "Level 31, what's wrong?" "It's nothing." Tang Hao opened his mouth, but in the end he said nothing and walked out of the room. "Hurry up and pack up and go out for breakfast. Since you are now level 30, we will leave soon." "Oh. After opening the door curtain and walking out, Tang Hao's expression instantly turned sad. Cultivation of a soul ring on one's own, isn't that the same as Ayin? As a titled Douluo, he could naturally see that Tang Liu was not a spirit beast, but since Tang Liu was able to cultivate the soul ring on his own, does that mean that after killing Tang Liu, he can also obtain the soul ring and soul bones? Tang Hao walked towards the stove with a heavy heart. But soon, he regained his energy. No matter what, he will protect Xiaolu. What's more, with Tang Liu's teleportation spirit ability that was beyond common sense, it would be difficult for others to catch him. Dad, you asked me to come out for dinner, why don't you cook by yourself? Tang Liu walked out of the room and looked at Tang Hao in surprise. Tang Hao said calmly, it's not like I can't do it. Otherwise, would you and your brother have starved to death when they were children? You've only been cooking intermittently for 4 years, okay? And there's never been a meal. Ever since I was 4 years old, my brother has been cooking for our family all by himself, okay? You actually have the nerve to say that my brother and I are going to starve to death. I don't know who is the father. Tang Liu said with disgust, but his movements were not slow. He sat down on his seat and picked up the porridge to drink. Tang Hao was choked by him again and clenched his fist to show that he wanted to hit someone. After Tang Liu slowly finished his meal, they planned to leave. Tang Liu was carrying a small baggage, which contained a set of clothes and a few Gintama coins. The money was earned by Tang Hao from making farm tools in the past 5 days, and was taken away by Tang Liu. Otherwise, Tang Hao would definitely use it to drink again. After carrying the small baggage, Tang Liu looked up at Tang Hao and asked, where are we going now? Go to the Star Dou Forest and get a soul ring for you. Tang Hao said calmly. Oh. Tang Liu nodded, then naturally opened his arms and looked at Tang Hao. Tang Hao, what are you doing? Aren't we going to fly? No, walk. Chapter 24 I really acted like a spoiled child. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Tang Liu took a deep breath in his heart. I am a 6-year-old child now. A 6-year-old child, a 6-year-old child. No, just use Fei to fly there. In order not to walk, Tang Liu risked his old face, and chose to act coquettishly. However, he has an extremely good-looking face, blinks his big beautiful jewel-like eyes, and has a soft and cute voice. This act of coquettishness has maximum lethality. Tang Hao. In the sky, Tang Hao held Tang Liu and flew towards the Star Dou Forest at high speed. Tang Hao. What's going on? Why am I flying in the sky? What happened? Lowering his head, Tang Liu was already asleep in his arms. Tang Hao. Let me take a look. About half an hour ago, if he remembers correctly, this brat who was always at odds with me actually acted coquettishly towards him. And after that? As if he was under an illusion, he actually agreed to this kid's request to fly with a doting look on his face. Damn it, it's my own cub after all, and I can't resist it once it starts acting like a spoiled child. Tang Hao thought depressedly, what else can be done? You've been flying for so long, do you want to go down and walk now? After all, it's your own child, and when it's time to pamper her, then you have to kneel down and do it to the end. Thinking about this, Tang Hao increased his soul power defense against Tang Liu while increasing his flying speed. With his cultivation and current speed, he should be able to reach the Star Dou Forest by the afternoon. It's just, this kid really slept peacefully. Why are you so envious? Tang Hao kept thinking wildly in his mind. For a moment, the pain of his wife's death in his heart and the longing for his wife faded a lot. The Star Dou Forest is the largest gathering place for soul beasts on the Douluo continent, and is also the first of the 3 major human-restricted areas on the continent. Any tree here is over 20 meters tall. There are also various landforms such as swamps and hills inside the forest, which are almost suitable for the survival of most soul beasts known on the continent. Of course, this is also a paradise for soul masters, a paradise with extremely high mortality and opportunity. Tang Hao landed from the sky when he was 10 miles away from the Star Dou Forest. Even if he was as powerful as him, he would not seek death by flying directly into the Star Dou Forest. We're here, wake up. After landing, Tang Hao gently patted Tang Liu's back to wake him up. Huh? Are you here so soon? Tang Liu said while rubbing his eyes and yawning. Tang Hao. I held you in my arms and flew for 3 hours. Can you not be happy? After putting Tang Liu down, Tang Hao sat down cross-legged on the spot and began to restore his soul power, entering the star forest. Even he didn't dare to be too powerful, so he had to restore his soul power to its peak first so that he could deal with danger. Long-term high-speed flight is also very draining of soul power for tidal Douluo. Tang Liu sat down not far from him, looking boredly at the looming forest in the distance. About half an hour later, Tang Hao ended his meditation. Stood up again, picked up Tang Liu, who was about to fall asleep again, and walked toward the Star Dou forest. Have you decided what you want for the second soul ring? Tang Hao asked on the way. Tang Liu thought about it seriously, and then said, group invisibility. For another one, it must be at least a soul skill that can only be produced by a 10,000-year-old soul beast. Tang Hao rejected it without thinking. Then, the group is weak, or the group is violent. Tang Liu continued. Go on, these two are at least 10,000 years old. Then, purify the negative state. The effect of the 100-year-old is too poor, the 1,000-year-old is barely adequate, and the 10,000-year-old is good. Keep changing. Tang Liu looked at Tang Hao speechlessly. How about you recommend one to me? If the master were here, every soul skill he mentioned before would probably be able to find a suitable soul beast for him. How about treatment and recovery? Tang Hao hesitated for a while and said, with his mind spinning, and coupled with the advantage of the plot, Tang Liu instantly understood what Tang Hao wanted to do, so he refused without thinking, no. Tang Hao suddenly became a little excited, stopped moving forward, stood in front of Tang Liu, looked at him and said, why not? Your martial spirit is originally a mutated auxiliary martial spirit. If you add healing soul skills, you can protect yourself better. Hearing this, Tang Liu couldn't help but sneered, protect myself better. Are you sure? Tang Hao couldn't help but be stunned when he saw the ridicule and coldness in his youngest son's eyes. Do you dare to tell the truth? Are you not a man anymore? Tang Liu continued, regardless of Tang Hao's ugly face. Tang Hao opened his mouth, as if he had thousands of words he wanted to say out, but they were stuck in his throat, making him choke uncomfortably. Let me tell you straight, do you want me to use healing soul skills to save people? Tang Liu didn't give Tang Hao time to think, and the question followed closely. Tang Hao was silent for a moment and nodded. A sneer appeared on Tang Liu's lips. Then let me continue asking, is the person you want to save my mother? Tang Hao's figure seemed to have been struck by lightning. He staggered and almost lost his balance. Yes. Tang Hao was silent for a long time and then spoke tremblingly. The dignified 8-foot-tall man's eyes gradually became a little wet. Tang Liu looked indifferently, pretending not to notice Tang Hao's embarrassment, and continued, the maximum soul ring life I can bear now is 3,100 years. Healing soul skills. Hey. When he said this, the corners of his lips revealed there was a trace of disdain. Just like you said that the purification soul skill is too weak for 100 years, and 1,000 years is just fine, but 10,000 years is good. In my opinion, 100 years of healing soul skills are useless, and 1,000 years is too weak, and 10,000 years is better. Yes, it's 100,000-year healing soul skill. For example, Bridget the Emerald Swan is good, it's just that the opponent should now absorb the power of Tianmeng Ice Silkworm in the dangerous place of Star Dou Forest and fall into a deep sleep. Besides, Tang Liu also had self-awareness. Bai Ji is the wife of Di Tian, the most ferocious beast in the entire Douluo continent. She absolutely cannot do it, not to mention the Silver Dragon King sleeping in the Star Dou Forest, so Tang Liu's target was Biji's tribe, those 10,000-year-old jade swans. Based on Tang Liu's current cultivation speed and the attached status of the third martial soul's soul ring, he estimated that the third soul ring of his first martial soul, Void Spirit Blue Silver Emperor, could be attached to the 10,000-year level, and the lifespan should be just now. Not long after entering 10,000 years, but the soul ring position Tang Liu reserved for the Emerald Swan was the 5th or 6th soul ring. If it was 100,000 years old, that would be the best. Chapter 25 Tang Liu has many bold ideas. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Tang San had been practicing various Tang sect techniques before he was 6 years old, while Tang Liu, besides sleeping, was thinking about his future development direction, because he wasn't sure what his martial soul was at that time. He took almost every soul master into consideration, and thought clearly about what soul skills each soul ring should obtain, no matter what kind of soul master he is. He always puts the treatment of Yin first. At that time, he thought that if he was a soul master of the auxiliary or food system, then he could directly obtain healing soul skills by attaching soul rings, but if it was a soul master of other types, he would consider obtaining one or even multiple life attribute soul bones. If I just add 1,000-year-old healing soul skill now, it would be a waste. In order to be able to compete with Wuhuan Palace, it is absolutely impossible for me to have duplicate soul skills. Therefore, the healing soul skill it can only be 10,000 years old and my 5th or 6th soul skill, so that I can maximize the healing effect of my martial soul. Tang Liu looked into Tang Hao's eyes, with a serious look on his face, and spoke extremely seriously. After hearing what he said, Tang Hao looked dull. He really didn't expect that Tang Liu, who was usually lazy, greedy and useless, and always liked to antagonize and talk back to him, would actually think more deeply than he did. And he's only 6 years old. How did you know about your mother? Tang Hao calmed down his emotions for a moment and asked again. What do you mean? After pretending to be cool, Tang Liu subconsciously said these words. After he finished speaking, he realized that he was about to suffer. Tang Hao was stunned for a moment, then smiled bitterly and said, So you have always known everything. Tang Liu felt extremely depressed. Forget it. Now that the words have been spoken, there is no other way. All I have to do is continue editing. However, he felt that there was still room for maneuver, so he said, It's not everything. I only know a rough idea. Then how do you know that your mother was injured because of Wuhuan Palace? Like Tang Liu, Tang Hao was still hiding something. My martial spirit told me. Tang Liu said. Tang Hao was stunned when he heard this, and then smiled bitterly. Yes, your mother's martial spirit is the Blue-Silver Emperor, and you are also the Blue-Silver Emperor. It is probably the bond between the martial spirit and the bloodline that gives you some memories of her. Well, as expected, sometimes you only speak half of your words, and others will automatically fill in the gaps for you. The novel does not deceive me. Let's go and find your second soul ring. Seeing that you have already planned your 5th and 6th soul skills, you must have considered your second soul skill in the first place, right? Let's talk about it, I think. What do you want? Tang Hao took Tang Liu's hand again and led him towards the Star Dou forest. I said it. That's what I just told you. The first choice is group invisibility, the second choice is group weakness or group violence, and the last is purification. Is it true that these soul skills are not produced by 1,000-year soul beasts? Can't we find those who have these soul skills? Are you the 1,000-year level descendant of a 10,000-year soul beast? Moreover, when the master was looking for my first soul skill, he also said that soul skills such as virtualization are generally only available to 10,000-year soul beasts, but then he still gave me I found the civet cat as my first soul ring. Dad, are you a scumbag? Tang Hao, take your time and take a look after entering the forest. Oh, so you are actually a bad student, right? Tang Hao. I don't know why, but after the incident just now, Tang Hao became a lot gentler, as if he was a piece of iron that had finally softened under the fire, at least, more like a father. Tang Liu and Tang Hao stayed in the outer area of the Star Dou forest for 10 days, but they could not find a soul beast suitable for Tang Liu, however. Although he had not met a suitable soul beast in these 10 days, Tang Liu's soul power had broken through again, reaching level 33, after Soul Master, Tang Liu's cultivation speed finally slowed down. Even the barrage of system refreshes could no longer allow Tang Liu to reach the cultivation speed of the 5 days in Holy Soul Village, but to increase your soul power by 2 levels in 10 days is extremely scary. Dad, how about we go out first, make some preparations and then go into the mixed area to look for it. In 10 days, both Tang Liu and Tang Hao looked dusty. It's okay for Tang Hao, after all, his cultivation level is there. But Tang Liu's spirit showed a slight hint of fatigue. If Tang Hao, the title Douluo, hadn't been guarding him all the time, Tang Liu would not have been able to hold on for long in the extremely dangerous Star Dou forest. Then it's up to you. Tang Hao hesitated for a while and then agreed. After all, Tang Liu might not be able to hold on if he continued like this. Although Tang Liu was now a soul lord, his body was still that of a 6-year-old child after all. After going out to rest for a while, entering the mixed area of the Star Forest, you will be more likely to find a suitable soul beast. In the past 10 days, Tang Hao also killed many spirit beasts that came to attack, and took them all out of the forest to sell them. Soul beasts are quite valuable, not to mention that the soul beasts Tang Hao killed were basically from 6,000 to 7,000 years old, so the value was even higher. Therefore, the two of them are not short of money recently. As for Tang Liu, he had a system and had already determined the location of the soul beast he wanted on the 8th day, but he was unable to find a suitable excuse and delayed it for another 2 days. After resting outside for a night and buying everything he might need, Tang Hao took Tang Liu into the Star Dou forest again. This time they went directly 1,000 meters deeper into the mixed zone. In this area, century-old soul beasts are rarely seen. Basically, they are mainly thousands-year soul beasts, and there are also many 10,000-year soul beasts living here. A little further inside is the inner area, where the 10,000-year soul beast is particularly active. After that comes the core area, where the soul beasts there start at least 50,000 years old, and you can even encounter 100,000-year-old soul beasts. Finally, there is the most dangerous place in the center, currently, 200,000-year-old soul beasts. The Azure Bull Python and the Titan Giant Ape are active there. As for the other ferocious beasts that are over 200,000 years old, they are still sleeping at the bottom of the lake there. Tang Liu estimated that the Tianmeng ice silkworm came to the Star Dou forest 100,000 years ago and was captured by Di Tian's group of ferocious beasts. Afterwards, they fell into a deep sleep due to absorbing the power of Tianmeng ice silkworm. At this time, a new group of 100,000-year soul beasts were born, namely Xiao Wu's mother, Xiao Wu, Azure Bull Python, and Titan Giant Ape. As for Xiao Wu's father, it was probably earlier, and he might have been killed by Di Tian and the others. Chapter 26 The Talent of the Blue Silver Emperor. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Tang Liu felt that the most likely person was Mr. Xiong, because this guy was the most aggressive, and the bear's claws would even dare to scratch Di Tian. Is it because the beast god has lost his majesty, or is it that the dragon god's claws are no longer sharp? You are just a blind bear and you still dare to challenge the golden-eyed black dragon king. Isn't it nice to just be content and peaceful? Because all the strong men in the Star Dou forest were asleep, the Azure Bull Python and the Titan Giant Ape became the apparent overlords of the Star Dou Great Forest, guarding the Star Dou Great Forest. Tang Liu even felt that it was Emperor Tianxia's order to let the Azure Bull Python guard the Star Dou forest. After all, the Azure Bull Python also has dragon blood, and currently in the entire Douluo continent, apart from the Silver Dragon King, Ditian's bloodline is the highest and purest. The trees in the mixed area are taller, giving the impression of blocking out the sky and sun. Very little sunlight comes in, so the forest has a dark feel, but the breath of life here is undoubtedly very strong, and the air is fresher than outside. Every breath is intoxicating and full of vitality. The ground is covered with blue-silver grass. They are the most tenacious and can be seen almost everywhere. Tang Liu smiled and looked at the blue-silver grass swaying gently in the breeze. Feeling the aura on his body, these blue-silver grasses swayed their stems and moved closer to him. The first time he entered the Star Dou forest, he discovered that he was very popular among the blue-silver grass, because his mother is the blue-silver emperor, and his martial spirit is also the blue-silver emperor, although it is a mutated ethereal blue-silver emperor. Thinking of this, Tang Liu was suddenly stunned, because he remembered that in the original work, Tang San gained the blue-silver domain, the innate soul skill of the blue-silver emperor's spirit, because he awakened the blue-silver emperor's bloodline. Then my martial soul was originally the blue-silver emperor. Even the ethereal blue-silver emperor produced by mutation should still have the innate soul skill blue-silver domain. Could it be because the martial soul mutated and disappeared? Or has it become another talent that I am not aware of? Or is this talent just not stimulated yet? Thinking like this, Tang Liu inadvertently released his martial spirit. However, this time the void spirit blue silver emperor did not grow from his palm, but sprang out directly from his feet, growing to a height of about 2 meters in an instant. To the naked eye, the slender vines of the void spirit blue silver emperor look like blue crystals with golden lines on the surface, transparent and beautiful. Moreover, because the void spirit blue silver emperor has no entity and is illusory and transparent, it looks even more unrealistic. The only yellow century-old spirit ring of the void spirit blue silver emperor was still circling Tang Liu's body, rhythmically moving up and down. Unknowingly, Tang Hao had stopped and stared blankly at the ethereal blue silver emperor that kept growing from wherever Tang Liu passed by. Some long-lasting memories were evoked, and he couldn't help but be obsessed for a moment. Tang Liu was still moving forward, as if he was not aware of everything happening around him. Every time he takes a step, a 2-meter-high ethereal blue-silver emperor will grow out of the place where he left footprints, and around these ethereal blue-silver emperors, the ordinary blue-silver grass grows rapidly as if time is accelerating, dancing together, exuding joyful emotions. Under the leadership of the Su Ling blue-silver emperor, the blue-silver grass grew one after another. Soon, the blue-silver grass with a radius of 50 meters sprouted more than a foot long, and gently swayed with a special rhythm. Dancing, at the same time, some blue light spots slowly flew out from these blue-silver grasses, slowly flying in the direction of Tang Liu in the air. The closer these light spots are to Tang Liu, the faster they fly. The light spots released by each blue-silver grass were only the size of soybeans, but with such a large number of blue-silver grass, the light spots released by them gathered together and swept towards Tang Liu like one wave after another. Go and finally merge into his body. Such a scene actually looks a bit spectacular and uniquely beautiful. Tang Liu's step stopped at some point. He just stood there, with his eyes open, but his eyes were extremely empty, without any sparkle. The strange thing is that he is clearly standing there without any breath. But if you feel it carefully, you will find that within a radius of 50 meters, he seems to be everywhere. When the wave of blue light that converged on Tang Liu reached the 10th wave, the aura exuding from his body suddenly changed, and actually slowly revealed a faint majesty. The next moment, a blue halo bloomed from under his feet, spreading around and getting bigger, until it disappeared after a distance of more than 50 meters. The blue halo was like a breeze blowing over all the blue-silver grass on the ground, and all the blue-silver grass that was brushed by this blue light began to grow wildly as if they had received the best nutrients. In some of them, the original grass blades even began to grow slender and turned into vines. And this also means that these blue-silver grasses have transformed from plants into soul beasts. Although they are only the lowest level 10-year soul beasts now, as long as they are given enough time, they will definitely be able to grow into 100-year, 1,000-year, 10,000-year-old soul beasts, or even 100,000-year soul beasts. This is the tenacity of blue-silver grass. Under ideal conditions, they can definitely live to the level of 100,000 years. As for the 200,000-year catastrophe, apart from the blue-silver royal family, only the lucky blue-silver grass can survive it. A blue halo bloomed from the soles of Tang Liu's feet 10 times, and then Tang Liu regained consciousness, and his eyes were no longer empty. Raising his left hand, the void spirit blue-silver emperor slowly grew out of his palm, and behind him, the void spirit blue-silver emperor that originally grew gradually faded and disappeared in the air. Is this the blue-silver emperor's talent field? It's just that mine seems to be different from the normal blue-silver field. Tang Liu looked at the martial spirit in his hand and muttered to himself. The talent field of the host Void Spirit Blue-Silver Emperor should be called the Void Spirit Blue Emperor Domain. Different from the ordinary Blue-Silver Domain, the Void Spirit Blue Emperor Domain only has stimulation, contact, regeneration, breath storage, and imperial power. 5 effects. The system spoke at this time. That is to say, I can't use the blue-silver domain skills of all things and all rivers, right? Tang Liu said. Yes. The system said. Tang Liu smiled slightly, then put away his martial spirit, turned around and walked towards Tang Hao. Dad, Before he could finish his words, a black vine suddenly rushed out from the side, and then wrapped around Tang Liu like a python, pulling him back. A strange thing happened. Tang Liu disappeared together with the vine in the blink of an eye. Chapter 27 The Demon-Eyed Demonic Tree. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. Tang Hao's eyes were splitting when he saw this scene, and his martial soul was released in an instant. 9 yellow, purple, black, and red soul rings surrounded the huge clear sky hammer, but they were not like the souls of other soul masters. The ring moves like that. Little 6, he roared angrily, and the title Douluo's aura was released without reservation, and the surrounding trees seemed to tremble under the pressure. At the same time, the air in front of him also distorted violently under the pressure released by Tang Hao, and then shattered like a mirror. A disgusting stench suddenly hit his nose, but it had no effect on Tang Hao, who was eager to save his son. There was a tree not far away. The whole tree had only 2 colors, uncomfortable green and frightening black. The trunk is more than 5 meters in diameter, and the most bizarre thing is that there are countless green eyes on the trunk. Its roots are extremely thick and intertwined, with white bones of unknown species vaguely visible among them. It might be a human, it might be a spirit beast, that disgusting smell emanates from it. Its drooping branches are python-like vines, which are its most convenient weapons. It has tiny spikes on it that inject corrosive juice into its prey, but its most powerful and adept weapon is its elusive, hard to detect, impossible to prevent, and ubiquitous spiritual power. This is a very rare tree species in the Star Forest. The king of their group even ranks among the ferocious beasts. Its name is the Demon-Eyed Demon Tree, and their king ranks 5th among the 10 most ferocious beasts. Named the king of 10,000 demons, at this moment, Tang Liu was tightly bound by one of its vines, and the spikes on the vine were still injecting corrosive sap into Tang Liu's body. The unbearable odor it emits can not only drive away spirit beasts, but also has an anesthetic effect. Tang Liu, who was caught by it, was naturally in a coma. However, his body was emitting a faint blue-black light, which blocked the sharp thorns of the demon-eye tree from penetrating into his skin, so he was temporarily fine. It's the martial spirit Hao Lan's magic that automatically protects the master, but it was better than nothing, because Tang Liu's soul power would always be exhausted. Previously, Tang Liu's own aura was hidden because he had activated the Void Spirit Blue Emperor domain. So the demon-eyed demon tree not far from him regarded him as a plant, but when Tang Liu released the domain, his aura was immediately exposed, so the demon-eyed demon tree in the darkness took action without hesitation and captured the prey that he had brought to his door. With such a close distance, coupled with the fact that Tang Liu was defenseless and still too weak, the demon-eyed demon tree could kill him almost instantly. But what the demon-eyed demon tree didn't expect was that Tang Liu's body would actually emit blue-black light to block its spikes. What it didn't expect even more was that a title Douluo actually chased after him right after. Yes, no matter how weird the demon-eyed demonic tree is, it can't defeat the title Douluo. So it was hit by Tang Hao's angry hammer and was directly on the verge of death. Most of the entire tree was reduced to powder under the clear sky hammer, leaving only the last bit of the root and a green eye on the root. If it weren't for the fear of hurting Tang Liu, Tang Hao's blow could directly kill it. After swinging the hammer, Tang Hao quickly flashed in front of Tang Liu, hugged him and left the territory of the demon-eyed demon tree. The infusion of soul power awakened Tang Liu, who was still in a coma. Xiao Lu, are you okay? He called softly, his tone full of anxiety and self-blame. Why was he standing there in a daze? If he had followed Tang Liu, things like that just wouldn't have happened. Tang Liu was awakened by Tang Hao's soul power and opened his eyes, but his eyes were full of confusion. It took him a while to remember what happened, and then he reasoned about what the situation was like now. Dad, is that tree dead? Tang Liu's voice was as soft as a mosquito. Tang Hao thought he was afraid, so he said, there is still 1 breath left, Dad will kill it now. Looking at Tang Hao with a murderous look on his face, he was about to release the clear sky hammer to give the demon-eyed demonic tree the final blow, but just wanted to vent his anger for him. Tang Liu didn't know what was going on, but he felt a warmth in his heart that he had never experienced before. The meaning flows slowly, holding the man who had become a little irritable due to anxiety and self-blame. Tang Liu said weakly again, Dad, the spirit ring of that tree is suitable for me. That's right. The demon-eyed demon tree was one of the several suggestions given to Tang Liu by the system. Moreover, the age of the demon-eyed tree that has only 1 breath left is just right for him, so there is no reason to let it go. You want its soul ring? Okay, Dad won't kill it, but we'll keep it for you, and you can recover first. Tang Hao stared at him closely, as if he would be captured by another soul beast next moment. Tang Liu didn't know what to say. He just felt warm in his heart. This warmth made him want to laugh uncontrollably, but he is still in the paralysis toxin of the demon tree and is really weak. Dad, help me sit cross-legged. After saying these words, Tang Liu exhausted some of the strength brought by Tang Hao's soul power injection just now and could no longer speak. My head felt groggy, as if I was about to fall asleep any moment. Upon hearing this, Tang Hao hurriedly helped him sit cross-legged and supported him behind him to prevent him from falling backwards due to his weakness. Tang Liu lowered his head listlessly, and then the third martial spirit was released, and 3 circles of blue-black spirit rings began to beat around his body. Immediately afterwards, the soul ring ranked first flashed, and the next moment, the remaining root of the demon-eyed tree exploded with a boom. This is naturally the effect of Hao Lan mark. And Tang Liu marked him when he was just captured by the demon-eyed demon tree. The purple light of soul power swept towards Tang Liu and Tang Hao, but Tang Hao just waved his hand casually, and the purple light spread to both sides like a river encountering a reef. When the purple light dissipated, a circle of bright purple soul rings remained in place, and then, as if being pulled by something, they slowly flew towards Tang Liu. As the soul ring was gradually absorbed by Tang Liu, he finally no longer needed to be supported by Tang Hao. The void spirit blue silver emperor grew in the palm of his hand, constantly receiving the traces of soul power from the purple soul ring, and Tang Hao was guarding at the side, releasing the pressure of the tidal Douluo from a distance to prevent any soul beast from approaching. If it weren't for the fact that the plant-type soul beasts had no intelligence and only instinct before they had cultivated for 10,000 years, otherwise the demon-eyed demon tree would definitely regret catching Tang Liu, because an angry parent later can be deadly. Chapter 28 Demonic Eyes. You are listening at NovelFull.audio. It took Tang Liu an hour to absorb the spirit ring of this demon-eyed tree. An hour later, the purple soul ring slowly integrated into Tang Liu's body, and immediately after, the ethereal blue silver emperor in his palm quickly grew to the height of a person. Then, 2 soul rings, one yellow and one purple, slowly rose from the soles of his feet, beating up and down around the void spirit blue silver emperor. Ding! The system prompt sounded. Host, Tang Liu, male, age, 6. Soul power, 34. Martial spirit 1. Void Spirit Blue Silver Emperor, Talent Field, Void Spirit Blue Emperor Domain, Soul Ring 2, Soul Skill, Void Spirit Hide, apply Void Spirit Hide to up to 5, can be upgraded, units within a range of 100 meters, can be upgraded, centered on itself, and then apply Void Spirit Hide to the units. Enter a hidden state that lasts 2 minutes, can be upgraded. It cannot be locked while in the hidden state, and the locked skills can be unlocked at the same time. Units in a hidden state cannot be observed by any observation means. The specific effect is related to your mental power. Being attacked or launching an attack will remove the invisible state, specifically related to your mental power and the strength of the attack received or issued by the hidden unit. Ethereal Hide cannot be applied to multiple units on the same unit. The additional Ethereal Hide will be calculated based on the effective time of the first Ethereal Hide applied to the unit. The effective duration and concealment effect of Void Spirit Hide are directly related to the quantity and quality of your mental power. Martial Spirit 2, Clear Sky Hammer. Wuhuan 3, Hao Lan Spell, Soul Ring 3, Soul Skill, Hao Lan Force Field, consume a certain amount of soul power to create a force field that will within a range of 100 meters around the body, can be improved. The number, size, quality, density, intensity, etc. of the force field are directly related to the consumed soul power. If the soul power is less than 10% of the maximum soul power, the soul skill cannot be used. The current body strength can withstand the life of the soul ring, 4,300 years. Overall review, after absorbing the demon-eyed demon tree, which is about 2,900 years old, your mental power has finally been developed. At the same time, congratulations on getting a soul bone attached to the left eye, demon eye. After the system updated his information, the ethereal blue-silver emperor in Tang Liu's palm slowly disappeared. At the same moment, a circle of blue-green lines like flames slowly appeared around the orbit of his left eye, and the slight flickering light seemed to be burning flames. Tang Hao was so knowledgeable, he could see the true face of the green lines at a glance. External soul bone. After being slightly surprised for a while, Tang Hao snorted coldly and said in a low voice, "You are wise enough to give Xiao Lu an attached soul bone. The dead demon eye demon tree. Boss, I was really wrong." Absorbing the attached soul bone took another half an hour of Tang Liu's time, and then he slowly woke up. Opening his eyes, Tang Hao found that the pupil of Tang Liu's left eye had actually changed from blue-black to turquoise. Coupled with the flame-like pattern around the eye socket, it looked extremely enchanting and full of allure. Charm. Dad, I seem to have obtained a soul bone from the demon eye demon tree. The first thing after waking up, Tang Liu found Tang Hao's figure with his eyes, and then he spoke. "Well, I know. Try it and see what its soul skills are," Tang Hao said with a dull smile. Tang Liu nodded and injected soul power into his left eye, activating the soul skills attached to the demon eye. The circle of magic patterns around the eye sockets lit up, the frequency of flickering increased, and it looked more like flames. The next moment, Tang Hao noticed that a weak wave of mental power shot out from Tang Liu's left eye, and then landed on a big tree in the distance, but there was no more movement. Is it a mental attack skill? Tang Hao was a little confused. However, Tang Liu was able to release his mental power at the age of 6. Although he relied on soul skills, it was enough to prove that his mental power was stronger than ordinary people. Even Tang Hao himself could only release his mental power when he was about to reach the title Douluo. "Xiao Lu, how do you feel?" Tang Hao asked. After absorbing the externally attached soul bone, the system updated his information again, so Tang Liu took a look first, and then explained to Tang Hao, "The soul skill this externally attached soul bone gave me is called psychedelic gaze. After that, people can enter the corresponding illusion according to my ideas. If the mental power is weaker than mine, there is basically no possibility of struggling out." Tang Hao nodded, and then said, "That's right. What about your second soul skill?" "The second soul skill is Void Spirit's Concealment, which is the group stealth skill I want." Tang Liu was also a little happy when talking about his new soul skill. Tang Hao nodded again. "The auxiliary system route you are taking is different from other auxiliary system soul masters. At present, the soul skills you have attached do not seem to have much accelerating effect on other soul masters. But since this is yours choose, you must have your own solution." Hearing his words, Tang Liu couldn't help but shook his head, and then smiled. "Dad, what you said is actually right. But think about it, what if I am participating in a war?" Hearing this, Tang Hao was stunned. "Although I can only make 5 people invisible now. But what if these 5 people are all titled Douluo? In this case, I can lead them to sneak attacks behind the enemy without anyone noticing. If in the future if I can turn the effect of the first soul skill into group blur, or gain another group blur ability, then is there any place on Douluo continent that I can't enter?" Tang Liu continued. "But Xinglua and Tiando have been at peace for nearly 1,000 years, who would start a war?" Tang Hao said with a frown. Tang Liu's face showed a trace of darkness. He looked at Tang Hao and said, "It is unlikely that the 2 empires of Xinglua and Tiando will go to war, but Dad, don't forget, there is also a Wuhuan Palace. You know Wuhuan Palace better than I do. Soul Palace, haven't you noticed their ambition?" Tang Hao suddenly realized, yes, Wuhuan Palace is getting stronger day by day, so their ambitions are gradually revealed. However, no one on the mainland believes it yet. "Now that the soul ring has been absorbed, let's go. Where should we go next?" Tang Liu stood up, patted the grass clippings on his body, and said, "You no longer absorb the 3rd soul ring by the way?" Tang Hao said. Tang Liu shook his head. "Don't worry, I plan to wait until I am 12 years old to add the 3rd soul ring. By then, I should be able to withstand about 15,000 soul rings." Tang Hao nodded. "Let's go then." Chapter 29 Endorsement of Cultivation Methods. You are listening at novelfull.audio. A year has passed, it's time for the holidays at Notting College. Tang San plans to take Xiao Wu back to Holy Soul Village today. He specially bought a new casting hammer and a few bottles of good wine for Tang Hao, and also bought new clothes for Tang Hao and Tang Liu respectively. A year has passed, and I don't know what happened to my father and Xiao Lu. Thinking of this, Tang San felt infinite joy and longing in his heart, and he couldn't help but have a smile on his lips. However, when he and Xiao Wu rushed home, there was only an empty house waiting for them. Xiao San, when you read this letter, I have already taken your brother away. Don't look for us, you will not be able to find us. Although you are still young, you have the ability to take care of yourself, unlike your brother. Only when the young eagle spreads its wings can it fly high early. Don't worry about me, you have inherited a lot of your mother's delicacy in your personality, while your brother is more like me. But neither of you are like me, because Dad is a useless person and you are gifted. As you get older, Dad needs to get back some things that should belong to me. Xiao Lu will follow me for a while. When you go to the Intermediate Soul Master Academy, I will let him find you. When the time comes, you have to take good care of him on my behalf. One day, our family will be reunited again. I hope you become strong, but I don't want you to become strong. You choose your own path. If one day you feel that the Soul Master profession is not good, then return to Holy Soul Village and become a blacksmith like me. Don't read it, Tang Hao. In the evening, the setting sun exudes an attractive blush. On the hill where Tang San often practiced in the morning, Tang San and Xiao Wu talked to each other. However, what they didn't know was that Tang Hao and Tang Liu were hiding not far away, watching them. Hee, it looks like my future sister-in-law has been found. Tang Liu looked at the pair of boys and girls on the hilltop and said with a smile. Humph, you don't learn well at a young age. Tang Hao snorted coldly, raised his hand and hit Tang Liu on the head. Tang Liu felt a little aggrieved and protested. It's my brother who is in love, not me. Why did you hit me? Tang Hao ruffled his hair unceremoniously. I just wrote to your brother to say goodbye. Am I going to rush out and beat your brother up again? Tang Liu. Then you really have a good reason to hit me. Besides, what do you kids know about feelings? It's just that I hope my mistress won't become like me in the future. Tang Hao said with some melancholy. Tang Liu secretly cursed in his heart. I know my brother has never been in love in his previous life, but as an adult he should also know what love is. As for me, a young man of the new century, although I have never been in love, I definitely know more than you. Maybe Tang San and Xiao Wu brought back some sad memories of Tang Hao, so he quickly left with Tang Liu. After all, with Tang Hao's title Douluo's Cultivation, it was very easy to see the identity of the little dancing soul beast. He could feel Xiao Wu's pure and blank thoughts. It was just a coincidence that she got close to Tang San, or she was attracted by the half of Tang San's soul beast bloodline. However, Tang Hao was sure that Xiao Wu had no ill intentions towards Tang San, therefore, it was left to Tang San and Xiao Wu. During this year, Tang Liu deliberately slowed down his cultivation speed and began to try to compress and purify the soul power in his body, just to make his soul power more durable, since currently only the third martial soul can give him good combat power. Without the blue buff, he can only increase his mana by compressing the soul power. Otherwise, he will fight with others in the future with just 2 or 3 moves. The blue bar is empty, what should I do? However, even if he deliberately slowed down his cultivation speed, Tang Liu's soul power still reached level 37, almost breaking through to level 38. In addition to condensing soul power, Tang Liu was also working hard to train his mental power during this year. After all, if he wants to maximize the effects of his first martial soul's second soul skill and the attached soul bone, his spiritual power must be improved. As for the methods of practice, there are many kinds. After all, Tang Liu has a system that can do nothing but give suggestions. When Tang Liu proposed that he wanted to cultivate his spiritual power, the system immediately gave him 3 suitable plans for him to choose from. In the end, Tang Liu chose the method that was easiest for him at the moment, practice the purple demon eye. However, Tang Liu neither had Hui Yuhao's spiritual eye martial soul nor took the see-through autumn water dew, so the progress of the purple demon eyes was extremely slow and could only be accumulated day by day. Therefore, in addition to cultivating the purple demon eye, Tang Liu was also practicing another relatively fast method of training his mental power, endorsement. Yes, endorsement. When the system gave this method, Tang Liu was a little unbelievable, thinking that the system had been taken away again to make fun of him. But later the system told him that the method of improving mental power was not as difficult as imagined, in our daily lives. Every moment we focus our minds is actually the cultivation of spiritual power. For example, a high school student can concentrate more on study than a kindergarten child. Although there is an age factor in this, it is also a manifestation of improved mental strength. For another example, it takes a shorter time for a top student to memorize an English article than for a poor student to memorize an English article, and the person can remember it for a longer time. These are all manifestations of the growth of mental power. And do you dare to say that every academic master can memorize English articles from the beginning? No, reciting an English article is done step by step from a sentence, to a paragraph, and then to the entire article. The more content you can memorize, the more your mental strength will increase. Facts have also proven that people who frequently endorse have much better memories than ordinary people. This is a reflection of increased mental power. As for those who can memorize English articles from the beginning, they are not called academic masters, they are called academic gods. Thus, Tang Liu, who had not memorized a book for 6 years, began his arduous journey of early reading again. After practicing the purple demon eyes every morning, I start to recite English articles. From time to time, I will add a few classical Chinese articles to relieve my mood. As for where Tang Liu's early reading materials came from, he had to thank the system. This is how Tang Liu's year passed. After a year of early reading, Tang Liu can now remember 2 or 3 sentences at a glance, or even close to a natural paragraph in English. It can be said that the effect is obvious, and Tang Hao didn't take him to very far places during this year. He basically just wandered around Nodding City, watching Tang San secretly. Chapter 30 Tang Liu is not tall. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Tang Hao didn't give much guidance to Tang Liu in his cultivation, and he basically treated Tang Liu in a state of letting go. However, I don't know if it was because of the demon tree last time. When it was safe, Tang Hao never let Tang Liu leave his sight for more than half an hour. When going out, he must always ensure that Tang Liu Chu is in his sight. Tang Liu was also happy like this, otherwise he wouldn't have been able to explain to Tang Hao why he had to use a language that Tang Hao didn't understand and mutter to himself for more than an hour every day that Tang Hao didn't understand. And Tang Liu had never worried about his own cultivation, because there were basically no bottlenecks in a soul master's cultivation. If there are any bottlenecks, then there are only soul core cultivations from level 89 to level 90, and from level 98 to level 99. However, there is no such thing as a soul core yet, so the so-called bottleneck does not exist. If you really encounter any bottleneck, it's not too late to ask Tang Hao directly. After all, Tang Hao has cultivated to the title Douluo step by step. If Tang Hao couldn't solve it, Tang Liu decided to ask the master. If the master can't solve it, then you have to rely on his assistant system. In fact, if the system hadn't made him wary that time, he would have been willing to ask the system directly. After Tang San learned that Tang Hao and Tang Liu had left, he took Xiao Wu back to Nodding Academy the next day and began to practice diligently, and Tang Hao also took Tang Liu to live in Nodding City, watching Tang San from a distance, taking Tang Liu out for a month or 2 from time to time, and then coming back. When I go out, sometimes I go to the Star Forest, sometimes I go to other cities. When he went to other cities, Tang Hao usually put Tang Liu in a hotel, and then went there alone for unknown reasons, acting like an underground party contact. However, Tang Liu also had some guesses about this, feeling that Tang Hao should be preparing to deal with Wuhuan Palace, or at least paving the way for Tang San and him in the future, and this situation continued until Tang was 61 years old. In the 4 years from the age of 7 to 11, Tang Liu finally succeeded in compressing and condensing his soul power for the first time. Although it still consumed mana when using the Hao Lan Spell, he was able to hold on longer than before. A little longer, Tang Liu's total soul power now should be equivalent to a soul king of more than 50 levels. But even so, Tang Liu's soul power still couldn't use Hao Lan Spell for a long time, which was enough to show how powerful the Hao Lan Spell's mana consumption was. Since the soul power was completely compressed, Tang Liu's cultivation speed finally slowed down, but he still reached level 40 when he just turned 8. however, he did not rush to condense the fourth soul ring with his Hao Lan spell. Instead, he continued to compress his soul power and improve his mental power at the same time. According to the master, a soul master's training will not stop just because he has not obtained a soul ring. In addition, Hui Yuhao said that the advancement of suppressing soul power can improve mental power, so of course Tang Liu was happy not to condense soul rings. After completing the first round of soul power compression, Tang Liu immediately started the second round of soul power purification and compression without stopping, and his cultivation level has been stuck at level 40 for 3 years. Now he is 11 years old, but he still has no idea of condensing soul rings and increasing his soul power. According to his estimation, the second condensation of his soul power should be completed within this year. By then he will be 12 years old, and it will be time to condense the fourth soul ring of his Hao Lan spell. By then, with his cultivation reaching level 40, he should be able to add a third soul ring of 10,000 years level to the Void Spirit Blue Silver Emperor Spirit. It is worth mentioning that Tang San also obtained his second soul ring when he was 8 years old and successfully entered the level of a great soul master. Now Tang San and Tang Liu are both 11 years old. Tang San's cultivation level is level 27, while Tang Liu's cultivation level is level 40. The gap between the innate level 10 soul power and the innate level 20 soul power is reflected from here. However, Tang San's talent was no weaker than Tang Liu's. It was just that Tang San, whose Blue Silver Emperor bloodline had not yet awakened, was still relatively slow in his cultivation. Tang Liu's current advantages are the additional 10th level soul power brought to him by the third martial soul Hao Lan spell, and the originally awakened Blue Silver Emperor martial soul, which prevents his cultivation speed from being as fast as Tang San's. Being held back by the current Blue Silver grass, however, now this advantage has gradually become less obvious as the two soul power levels are getting closer, and Tang Liu's cultivation speed has slowed down after compressing the soul power. There was one thing that Tang Hao found very interesting. Because of the 11-year-old Tang San and Tang Liu, one was already a boy about 1.7 meters tall, while the other now looked like a child just over 1.3 meters tall. Similarly, Tang San's face also looked more mature, and basically no longer had the youthfulness of a child. But Tang Liu was still as young as he was when he was a child, with a childish face, and it seemed as if water would come out when he squeezed it. When you go to find your brother, I'm afraid your brother will say that I haven't taken good care of you in the past few years. Tang Hao looked at Tang Liu, who was just past his thigh, couldn't help but smile, and pinched his face said, "How do I know I won't grow taller now?" Tang Liu was also extremely depressed. After traveling through time for so long, he and Tang San have always been about the same height. It's just that in the first 3 years, Tang San's height grew rapidly as if he was on drugs. When Tang Liu was about to look up to Tang San, Tang Liu finally realized something. Although I have traveled to Douluo continent, I don't seem to have the growth pattern of the people here who are 1.7 meters at the age of 10, 1.8 meters at the age of 13, and 2 meters at the age of 15. I am still like an ordinary Chinese person in my previous life. It is relatively common for Chinese people to be 11.5 meters tall. Tang Liu remembered that when he was this age in his previous life, he was almost the same height. In short, he is just very short. However, to be fair, Tang Hao had raised Tang Liu quite well in the past few years, and his usual food was all made from centuries-old soul beast ingredients. Although I haven't grown much taller, I have gained a few pounds and my face is a bit chubby. If you don't want to learn from your brother, why don't you practice more? Tang Hao said. I'm so tired, I refuse. Don't you feel good about sitting and lying down without even exercising? I am a homeless person and I don't think there is anything wrong with it. But now you can't even pick up a 50-kilogram forging hammer. Tell me, how should you practice the random cloak hammering technique? Tang Hao said with a hint of disgust on his expression. I am an auxiliary soul master. Tang Liu said confidently.